Shabbat Shalom, Yasharallah. Welcome to Torah Portion Week 25, covering Exodus 32 through the end of chapter 34. And let's begin with a prayer before we get started. Heavenly Abba, Tawad for this day that you have given us and all that you do and all that you are that goes unnoticed and unseen by us, Heavenly Abba. Please continue to show grace and mercy upon us as we seek your face in this path, in this struggling life on earth that you have given us. But we shall endure through your blessing, Heavenly Abba, and through your strength. We just ask to continue to be covered by you and to be called a child of the Most High is the true path that we choose by being here on your set apart day, seeking your face, Heavenly Abba. Please send the Ruach for discernment and wisdom in this reading and throughout the following week and day. Tawadah, Bahashem Yasha, Amen and Amen. All right, we have the infamous golden calf that has a couple of symbolisms that we're going to go into that I think can be connections that from the heavens to other biblical stories here. So let's get started in chapter 32.
Exodus 32. Now when the people saw that Moses was delayed in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, "Come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this Moses who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him." So Aaron told them, "Take off the gold earrings that are on your wives and sons and daughters, and bring them to me." Then all the people took off their gold earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took the gold from their hands, and with an engraving tool, he fashioned it into a molten calf.
Remember last week how the Most High said, allow them to give their jewelry to make the tabernacle furnishings and all of that, right? But look at what they're using for their jewelry. We touched on that last week. Just wanted to say that again. Well, this is where their hearts lied. The Most High allowed them to give something up to what they truly desired before even have an opportunity to give it up for his tabernacle.
And they said, "These, O Israel, are your gods, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt." When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before the calf and proclaimed, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." So the next day they arose, offered burnt offerings, and presented peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink, and got up to indulge in revelry. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go down at once, for your people whom you brought up out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. How quickly they have turned aside from the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a molten calf, and have bowed down to it. They have sacrificed to it, and said, 'These, O Israel, are your gods, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.' The Lord also said to Moses, 'I have seen this people, and they are indeed a stiff-necked people. Now leave me alone, so that my anger may burn against them and consume them. Then I will make you into a great nation.'"
Ooh, all right. Infamous golden calf or bull. All right, so we see that this is referenced again in Deuteronomy, but we'll touch that when we get to Deuteronomy because this is Torah portions. I ain't trying to read all of Deuteronomy before we get there, right? So when we get to that review, we'll get to that review. So the point I want to bring up in the first part of this portion of the golden calf, outside of them giving up their jewelry for their God, is verse 5. How it seems like Aaron was just honestly a little too willing in at least the Bible. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before the calf and proclaimed, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Most High." I wanted to read verse 5 in the Targums Jonathan in Exodus 32:5, because it makes it more understanding why Aaron would be willing to do this. Verse 5 in the Targums. For Aaron has seen her slain before him and was afraid. And he built an altar before him. And Aaron cried with doleful voice and said, let there be a feast before the dawn tomorrow of the sacrifice of the slain of these adversaries who have denied their Lord and have changed the glory of Shekinah of the Adon for this calf. Shekinah. I'm getting the names mixed up now. But Aaron witnessed they murdering her when her refused to do their request. And this, I can't find this anywhere else. I don't have a second witness of this. But we can look into the Bible and look up that her is not mentioned in any more stories moving forward. So that's a witness in itself, is that her just kind of vanishes. I don't know why it's not in the modern Masoretic manuscript or whatever. There's no mention of her being slain, or where'd he go? Remember, we had a story of her was helping hold Moses' arms up during one of the battles of the Amorites. And then we get to this story and he vanishes. But in the Targums, this gives us a reason why he vanishes, and it also obviously more understanding why Aaron was willing to make the golden calf, which obviously isn't still a good enough excuse to make an idol, but it's not up to us to forgive Aaron. We're not there. That was the Most High, and we shall see how this plays out then, huh? All right. And then we're going to go into the book of Jasher, chapter 82. We're going to start off at verse 10 and read through 16. And the Adon wrote the 10 commandments which he had commanded the children of Yasharallah upon 2 tablets of stone, which he gave to Moses to command the children of Yasharallah. And I'll zoom in. I forget. Yeah, that's better. And at the end of 40 days and 40 nights, when the Adon had finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, then the Adon gave to Moses the tablets of stone written with the finger of God. And real quick, before we continue. So I created this based on the structure of sapphire, which we already went over in prior Torah portions, that the throne of the Most High, the foundation of what the Most High's throne is sapphire. It's the crystal structure of sapphire and the color of it, and obviously, the writing and stuff will be different. This is just an idea of what the original 10 Commandments could have resembled, just an idea. Let's continue reading now. Verse 12, chapter 82 of Jasher. And when the children of Yasharallah saw that Moses tarried to come down from the mount, they gathered round Aaron and said, as for this man Moses, we know not what has become of him. Now therefore rise up, make unto us a God who shall go before us, so that thou shalt not die. And Aaron was greatly afraid of the people. And according to the Targums, it's because they did this after killing her. And he ordered them to bring him gold, and he made it into a molten calf for the people. And the Adon said to Moses, before he had come down from the mount, get thee down, for thy people, whom thou didst bring forth from Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have made to themselves a molten calf, and have bowed down to it. Now therefore leave me, that I may consume them from off the earth, for they are a stiff-necked people. All right. And lastly, we're going to go and look at a video here that I made a couple years back. Let's talk about the golden calf found in Exodus chapter 32. In verse 4, and he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with a graven tool and made a golden calf. And a lot of golden calf illustrations look like this, a golden calf with this object on top of his head. So let's break it down. So we're going to see that everything goes back to the heavens. As time passes throughout the generation of mankind, the constellations slowly change. Let's read on it. Because of the slow change in our orientation to the stars, the position of the sun on the first day of spring slowly shifts westward around the sky, which also moves it around our calendar. That is why we refer to this effect as the precession of the equinox. So these are the 12 constellations that run on the path of the sun. And right now, spring starts right at the end of Pisces. But after Adam and Eve fell from the garden, the beginning of mankind, we were at Taurus. All right, so now we're going to get to the point. So at the time of the Exodus, they were somewhat in the beginning of Aries. And once the year begins, the sun moves this way through the constellations. So we started in Pisces, but the first month after Pisces lands in Aries for us right now. So during the Exodus story, they started their month at the end of Aries, and then the sun would shift into Taurus halfway through the month when Passover occurred. So this is the heavenly image that the Israelites saw leaving Egypt. The constellation of Taurus crowned with the sun. And this is why the golden calf is crowned with the sun, because they said, these are the gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. They took the sign from heaven on the day that they left Egypt and worshipped it as the God that freed them. All right, and we can honestly keep going. We can keep going. I have an image of Malak. We're going to touch on Malak here real soon. How it's very interesting how there's so many connections with a cow bull god in the Bible. From the beginning of right now of the people of Yasharallah, the first god they made for them was a calf bull. And then they go into the land and they worship Malak. That's a bull. And then in our time, and well, since Babylonians, since they were in the land, because they were worshiping foreign gods in the land, which is why they got removed, right, from the promised land. They worshiping the false god El. If you know anything about ancient Hebrew, the very first pictograph is a all, A-L. But Babylonians say E-L, L. And so El is their god. And what is an L? It's a ox, a bullhead, a bull. The pictograph. I mean, I could add it right here. Let me see. I should have put that on here. I don't yeah, I don't know. Look it up. Look it up if you don't know what the olive looks like. But all of these things connected to, from the beginning, a calf. There's nothing new under the sun. All of these things are connected from the beginning, which is still going on today. That's what the synagogue of Satan is here doing today. They're worshiping the same deities because this is where the base of the religion of Judaism starts, with this golden calf. That's that's a segue to the mark of the beast study, by the way. Mark of the beast study shows that the mark of the beast is connected with all of this stuff in modern day time. All right. And so all that being said, oh, one more picture here. just to, because I said in this video, right? I said that the timing of them leaving Egypt during their time frame, it's highly possible that the sun was crowning the constellation they call Taurus. And I went to an idea of a time frame because the sun stays the same. So the idea of the time frame of the sun stays the same, but the constellations change. So I went back 1500 BC. And just to put in our time for what we have this year, we had unleavened bread. The last day of unleavened bread was May 3rd. Like, in other words, they're leaving. The unleavened bread's over. They're in their departure. And you go to their time frame. I use the Stellarium website to go way back in, give or take around their time frame. And sure enough, during the time after Passover, the sun marks over the head of the bull. So just showing all of these things, and there's so many connections. Honestly, you could build a study almost, excuse me, almost off of like any core symbols the scriptures give us. Usually is a ripple effect of connections here. All right. Verse 11, let's continue.
But Moses sought the favor of the Lord his God, saying, O Lord, why does your anger burn against your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and a mighty hand?
Right. Even the synagogue of Satan is over here talking about a red heifer for sacrifice. Just so many things are built around calves, right?
Why should the Egyptians declare, he brought them out with evil intent, to kill them in the mountains and wipe them from the face of the earth? Turn from your fierce anger and relent from doing harm to your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, to whom you swore by your very self when you declared, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and I will give your descendants all this land that I have promised, and it shall be their inheritance forever. So the Lord relented from the calamity he had threatened to bring on his people. Then Moses turned and went down the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. The tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, engraved on the tablets. When Joshua heard the sound of the people shouting, he said to Moses, the sound of war is in the camp. But Moses replied, it is neither the cry of victory nor the cry of defeat. I hear the sound of singing. As Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, he burned with anger and threw the tablets out of his hands, shattering them at the base of the mountain. Then he took the calf they had made, burned it in the fire, ground it to powder, and scattered the powder over the face of the water. Then he forced the Israelites to drink it. What did this people do to you, Moses asked Aaron, that you have led them into so great a sin? Do not be enraged, my lord, Aaron replied. You yourself know that the people are intent on evil. They told me, make us gods who will go before us. As for this Moses who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him. So I said to them, whoever has gold, let him take it off. And they gave it to me. And when I threw it into the fire, out came this calf. Moses saw that the people were out of control, for Aaron had let them run wild and become a laughingstock to their enemies. So Moses stood at the entrance to the camp and said, whoever is for the Lord, come to me. And all the Levites gathered around him. He told them, this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Each of you men is to fasten his sword to his side, go back and forth through the camp from gate to gate, and slay his brother, his friend, and his neighbor. The Levites did as Moses commanded, and that day about 3,000 of the people fell dead. Afterward Moses said, "Today you have been ordained for service to the Lord, since each man went against his son and his brother. So the Lord has bestowed a blessing on you this day." The next day Moses said to the people, "You have committed a great sin. Now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin." So Moses returned to the Lord and said, "Oh, what a great sin these people have committed. They have made gods of gold for themselves. Yet now, if you would only forgive their sin, but if not, please blot me out of the book that you have written." The Lord replied to Moses, "Whoever has sinned against me, I will blot out of my book. Now go, lead the people to the place I described. Behold, my angel shall go before you. But on the day I settle accounts, I will punish them for their sin." And the Lord sent a plague on the people because of what they had done with the calf that Aaron had made.
Wow. Oh my goodness. The golden calf. I'm gonna go on a picture of the the golden calf, man. The message behind this story is just not received in retrospect of the past comparable to what we're doing right now. The how we still use idols, how we still have things that are the golden calf in our lives, in our families' homes, or even some people still living at home. You know, you're still surrounded by golden calves in modern day time. It could be the Star of David's, could be the cross, it could be a just a simply a modern day idol, foreign god. It could be so many different things, and that people, I mean, they can't do apart from it for some reason. And that's how we know it's spiritual, when someone makes such a big deal out of something that shouldn't be that big of a deal to get rid of. The one of the biggest messages from the golden calf is we have to understand that they made the golden calf and they said that these are the gods. And they said these are the gods that freed us, freed us from Egypt. In other words, anybody can simply just put something that they cherish above the Most High. It's just that simple. When we are doing things on a regular basis, if something is against the word and you don't remove it, you're putting it in front of the Most High. That is your golden calf. In a nutshell, we got to simplify things. If you have an idol or something that is like, is wrong, or you're like, I don't really know, but you're not trying to study to show thyself approved. You're not doing your due diligence to make sure you're removing things from your life, logos on your clothing, and you're just not attempting to do better. You know, check yourself. It happens. There's many different forms and ways to have your own golden calf. That's all I can say. All right, we're going to go into the book of Jasher now. Oh, real quick, verse 25. Verse 25, it says a laughing stock, but verse 25, we go over here. When Moses saw that the people were naked, they just translated out of control, but naked is more biblical in this perspective. For Aaron had made them naked unto their shame among their enemies. So just a connection verse. Remember, the nakedness represents sin, and they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Obviously, this is after they ate of the forbidden fruit, right? So they were naked after they sinned, and this is the comparable story. After they sinned, their nakedness is being shown, right? All right, let's go into the book of Joshua now. chapter 82. Going to read verses 17 through 21. And Moses besought the countenance of the Adon, and he prayed to the Adon for the people on account of the calf which they had made. And he afterwards descended from the mount, and in his hands were the 2 tablets of stone which Elohim had given him to command the Israelites. When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf which the people had made, the anger of Moses was kindled, and he broke the tablets under the mounts. And Moses came to the camp, and he took the calf and burned it with fire, and ground it till it became fine dust, and strewed it upon the water, and gave it to the Israelites to drink. We're going to focus on this. This is a major part of the identifier of who was the ones the Levites to kill. When it says, go and slay your brothers, your neighbors that has worshiped the calf. This is how they knew who to slay. And there died of the people by the swords of each other about 3,000 men who had made the calf. And on the morrow, Moses said to the people, I will go up to the Adon, peradventure I may make an atonement for your sins which you have sinned to the Adon. All right, we'll stop right there, verse 21. All right, so now we're going to go to the Targums, expound on the drinking of the water from the dust of the gold of the golden calf here. So verse 20 in the Targums. And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in the fire and bruised it unto the powder, bruised it into powder and cast it upon the face of the water of the stream and made the sons of Yasharallah drink. And whoever had given thereunto any trinket of gold, the sign of it came forth upon his nostrils. All right. Wrapping that whole understanding of the reason of drinking the water. It exposed who was the ones that was trying to get the calf built. And then we're going to scroll down to verse 28. And the sons of Levi did according to the word of Moshe, and of the people who had the mark in their nostrils, there fell that day by the slaughter of the sword about the number of 3,000 men. All right, and I wanted to go and touch now, wrapping the whole golden calf up with this Malak figure here and the similarities of Malak. We already touched on how the God of Judaism, the religion that came forth from the Jews, the people of Israel, had to do with a bull. From the golden calf to Malak to even the god El is all a bull. Even Allah. Where does that come from? It comes from Aleph. The original name of Aleph is Al. That is from the A and the L, Aleph and Lamed. For Aleph, Lamed, La, Allah. All of these gods start with an ox bull. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. All of the different combinations to lead back to a ox calf god. And yeah, we're going to go to Amos, the verse about Malak. But let judgment run down as waters. I thought it was interesting how their judgment came through water, and righteousness as mighty stream, which that's where they drunk from, the stream, right? Haven't ye offered unto me sacrifices? Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Yasharallah? And this is exactly the time frame of golden calf, right? But ye have borne the tabernacle of your Malak and chewing your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. The same thing. Same thing with the golden calf. A lot of similarities. And a star came with it. A star came with it. Very interesting. All right, but that is chapter 32. Make sure, was there anything else I wanted to touch on here? All right. Chapter 32 now. All right. Or 33 now. Let's begin.
Exodus 33. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Leave this place, you and the people you brought up out of the land of Egypt, and go to the land that I promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, when I said, I will give it to your descendants. And I will send an angel before you, and I will drive out the Canaanites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites."
Oh, that was the thing. The end of chapter 32 and the beginning of 33, once again, that angel that will be sent before them. Obviously, it can be more angels than just Mashiach. We know Mashiach in his pre-arrival state is an angelic son of the Most High. And we know that he is a forefront, but it could be Michael at times in certain passages, just as when we read the book of Daniel, and but just want to touch on that. Let's continue. Verse 3.
Go up to a land flowing with milk and honey, but I will not go with you, because you are a stiff-necked people. Otherwise, I might destroy you on the way. When the people heard these bad tidings, they went into mourning, and no one put on any of his jewelry. For the Lord had said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, you are a stiff-necked people. If I should go with you for a single moment, I would destroy you. Now take off your jewelry, and I will decide what to do with you." So the Israelites stripped themselves of their jewelry from Mount Horeb onward. Now Moses used to take the tent and pitch it at a distance outside the camp. He called it the tent of meeting, and anyone inquiring of the Lord would go to the tent of meeting outside the camp. Then whenever Moses went out to the tent, all the people would stand at the entrances to their own tents and watch Moses until he entered the tent. As Moses entered the tent, the pillar of cloud would come down and remain at the entrance, and the Lord would speak with Moses. When all the people saw the pillar of cloud standing at the entrance to the tent, they would stand up and worship, each one at the entrance to his own tent. Thus,
All right. Oh, one more.
The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as a man speaks to his friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young assistant Joshua, son of Nun, would not leave the tent.
So went over this recently in Wisdom is Her Name, a study on the Ruach Kodesh, that this is the main difference. The priesthood is different now. In the time of Moses, all the way until Mashiach's resurrection, there was a Levitical priesthood, and the tabernacle, the tent of meetings, Solomon's temple, wherever the Ark of the Covenant, the priesthood were, is the structure that you had to set this up to meet with him, such as it's called the tent of meeting. You had to do these things to meet with the Most High, to get word from the Most High. And obviously, it's a different time from what we're in, but that's the point. We're in a different point of the history of mankind. We are not in the Levitical priesthood. Upon the resurrection, the Ruach Kodesh has been given out, which is at the very beginning of the book of Acts. And now there's the tent of meeting is not necessarily needed for sacrifices and for meetings. You see what Mashiach's resurrection did? his people shortly was going to be completely dispersed, even though majority of the Israelites were already the northern kingdom. It was just the southern kingdom, which is Judah and Benjamin and some Levites, right? The remnant that's still in Judea at the time of Mashiach. And of course, you have some, others from other tribes here and there, but the majority of the tribes are already dispersed, and the rest of the Jews were going to be dispersed shortly after the resurrection of Mashiach. So there was going to be no more tent of meeting, no more Solomon's temple, no more tabernacle. But he allowed it so you wouldn't need the tabernacle for sacrifices or to meet and get word from the Most High. That's the time we're in now. That in comparison to what we're reading right now. And then verse 11, we read, thus the Adon would speak to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend. So we go down to verse 20 and just reading it clear, but he added, you cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live. So clearly, they're not saying they're actually talking face to face. They're saying that he's speaking clearly and not saying things that are hard to understand to Moses. And comparison, let's read in the Targums real quick in verse 11. It's just a little bit more wordy and poetic in the Targums here. And the Adon spoke with Moshe word for word. The voice of the word was heard, but the majesty of the presence was not seen. So not seen. In the way that a man converses with his companion. After the speaking voice had ascended, he returned to the camp and delivered the word to the congregation of Yasharallah. All right, so let's go into that understanding of why they're saying that he spoke to him straightforward, like a friend in conversation. Because all throughout the scriptures, he tells us that he speaks in dark sayings and riddles and parables, right? John 1:18. No man has seen Elohim at any time. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared in him. So just confirming what we already have established, that they're not actually saying Moses is seeing face to face here, right? But now on the perspective of speaking face to face clearly with Moshe, he's not doing this. Psalms 78:2. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Ezekiel 17:2. Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Yasharallah. And Matthew 13:10 through 13. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever has not, from him shall be taken away even that he has. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. So to Moshe, there was no riddles, dark sayings, parables. He was just straight up talking to him as is. The rest of the book, a lot of it's written as we just read. We just verse from Psalms, Ezekiel, Matthew. The rest of the book is to interpretation for those given the Ruach to interpret. So that's what's the whole idea of what's the understanding of verse 11 is he's just speaking straightforward to him. All right, verse 12.
And Moses said to the Lord, look, you have been telling me, lead this people up, but you have not let me know whom you will send with me. Yet you have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor in my sight. Now, if indeed I have found favor in your sight, please let me know your ways, that I may know you and find favor in your sight. Remember that this nation is your people. And the Lord answered, My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. If your presence does not go with us, Moses replied, do not lead us up from here. For how then can it be known that your people and I have found favor in your sight, unless you go with us? How else will we be distinguished from all the other people on the face of the earth?
This is why we should petition for each other, for ourselves, for our families, because the Most High answers prayers, as Moses is doing for the whole body of Mashiach, his people, right?
So the Lord said to Moses, I will do this very thing you have asked, for you have found favor in my sight, and I know you by name. Then Moses said, Please show me your glory. I will cause all my goodness to pass before you, the Lord replied, and I will proclaim my name, the Lord, in your presence. I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. But he added, You cannot see my face, for no one can see me and live. The Lord continued, There is a place near me, where you are to stand upon a rock, and when my glory passes by, I will put you in a cleft of the rock, and cover you with my hand, until I have passed by. Then I will take my hand away, and you will see my back, but my face must not be seen.
All right. So very interesting verses I'm about to show y'all. We're going to be leading from here, and we're going to we're going to finish in chapter 34, saying the point starting here. You'll see once we get there. Okay, so let me show some context here. So we're going to start off at verse 14, and then we're going to get to this portion at the bottom that I wanted to expound on. That is interesting. So verse 14. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. All right, now, verse 21. The Adon continued, There is a place near me where you are to stand upon a rock. So many rock symbolisms in scripture as well. We're just going to touch on some of them. Exodus 17:6. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock of Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink, which is pretty sure the water they used for the golden calf stream to drink. Psalms 18:31. For who is Elohim save Ahaya? Who is a rock save our Elohim? Psalms 31:3. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. Matthew 16:18. And I say unto thee, that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So he builds his church upon a rock. He's telling Moses, go upon this rock in Horeb, and that he's the symbol of structure of good foundation is Abba, which is symbolized as a rock foundation. Okay, so all that being said, let's now go to verse 22. And when my glory passes by, I will put you in the cleft of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. So a cleft is like a hidden little groove. It almost is like a cave, but not directly a cave, but similar to a cave. It's some little passage covering within rock mountains, right? Remember that. So now let's go to 1 Kings chapter 19, 8 through 9, and verse 11. This is Elijah. Very, very interesting connections because Elijah, remember, this is during the time where Moses is back on the mount fasting for 40 days and 40 nights again. Let me first establish that, which will be confirmed in chapter 34. That all of what's going on right now, talking with the Most High, he's on Mount Horeb. He's back at up there, Mount Sinai, and he's fasting 40 days and 40 nights. The same exact time he's fasting 40 days and 40 nights is going to be during the time he's on Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, the Mount of Elohim. And I just realized that this week when I was doing this reading, that Elijah, the only other person outside of Messiah to fast 40 days and 40 nights, you have three people, Elijah, Moses, and Mashiach, are the only three people in the scriptures to fast 40 days and 40 nights. And both Moses and Elijah did it on Mount Sinai. Let's read. And he arose and did eat and drink and went in the strength that meat 40 days and 40 nights unto Horeb, the Mount of Elohim. And he came thither unto a cave. Unto a cave. I will put you in the cleft of a rock, like a cave. So they're on the same mountain, and they're covered by rock, like a cleft or a cave. Okay, very interesting connections here. Let's continue. And lodged there, and behold, the word of the Most High came to him and said to him, what doest thou here, Elijah? Verse 11. And he said, go forth and stand upon the mount before the Most High. What did he tell Moses to do? There is a place where you are to stand upon a rock. I'm like, what is going on? This is the same story. Same exact story. All right. Let's continue. Stand upon the mount before the Most High. And behold, the Most High passed by, a great and strong wind rent the mountains and break in the pieces of the rocks before the Most High. And the Most High was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake, but the Most High was not. And it goes on and going. We're going to just stop right there, though. But just showing you, we're going to build up to something more. We're establishing for next chapter 34 of Exodus. So we're not done with this. So just understand that Elijah and Moses fasted 40 days and 40 nights on Mount Sinai standing on rock in a cave cleft. Okay, and we'll continue this in a second. And that is all I have for chapter 33. All right, last chapter for this portion. Let's begin.
Exodus 34. Then the Lord said to Moses, chisel out 2 stone tablets like the originals, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke. Be ready in the morning, and come up on Mount Sinai to present yourself before me on the mountaintop. No one may go up with you. In fact, no one may be seen anywhere on the mountain. Not even the flocks or herds may graze in front of the mountain. So Moses chiseled out 2 stone tablets like the originals. He rose early in the morning, and taking the 2 stone tablets in his hands, he went up Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him. And the Lord descended in a cloud, stood with him there, and proclaimed his name, the Lord. Then the Lord passed in front of Moses and called out, the Lord God, is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in loving devotion and faithfulness. maintaining loving devotion to 1,000 generations, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. Yet he will by no means leave the guilty unpunished. He will visit the iniquity of the fathers on their children and grandchildren to the third and fourth generations. Moses immediately bowed down to the ground and worshipped. O Lord, he said, if I have indeed found favor in your sight, my Lord, please go with us. Although this is a stiff-necked people, forgive our iniquity and sin, and take us as your inheritance. And the Lord said, behold, I am making a covenant. Before all your people, I will perform wonders that have never been done in any nation in all the world. All the people among whom you live will see the Lord's work, for it is an awesome thing that I am doing with you. Observe what I command you this day. I will drive out before you the Amorites, Canaanites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Be careful not to make a treaty with the inhabitants of the land you are entering, lest they become a snare in your midst. Rather, you must tear down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and chop down their Asherah poles. For you must not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Do not make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, for when they prostitute themselves to their gods and sacrifice to them, they will invite you, and you will eat their sacrifices.
There is a lot of different covenants you can make in modern day time that you shouldn't make. You shouldn't make a covenant with any pagan nation, which is the whole world. Any covenant like that if they can force you or lead you to do pagan activities, which is anti-Bible, then it's bad. I can't think of one covenant you can make with man that is good. Not one, because there is not one. Just saying, I stop and I want to pause because too many people read the Bible and they don't reflect on what is going on today, as if, oh, it's just a story that doesn't affect me at all. These stories is a reflection of everyone in any time, from an idol of the golden calf to covenants with man. And it could be a range of things. It could be a military covenant. It could be a masonry covenant. It could be a sorority covenant. It could be so many different covenants, oaths you can make with man that are not good in any way. Right. The Hippocratic oath, an oath, a covenant. Yes, exactly. Every single one. Not one is good. And we're warned about these oaths and covenants throughout the Bible, not just here, right? Continuing, verse 16.
You take some of their daughters as brides for your sons, their daughters will prostitute themselves to their gods, and cause your sons to do the same. You shall make no molten gods for yourselves. You are to keep the feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days at the appointed time in the month of Abib, you are to eat unleavened bread as I commanded you. For in the month of Abib, you came out of Egypt. The first offspring of every womb belongs to me, including all the firstborn males among your livestock, whether cattle or sheep. You must redeem the firstborn of a donkey with a lamb, but if you do not redeem it, you are to break its neck. You must redeem all the firstborn of your sons. No one shall appear before me empty-handed.
All right, verse 20. The redeeming of the firstborn of your sons. No one shall be left empty-handed. Numbers 18, 15 through 16. Everything that opens the matrix, the womb, and all flesh. which they bring unto the Most High, whether it be of men or beasts. We just read about the donkey. Like if it's unclean, then you sacrifice a clean animal, or you break its neck. And men, we already went over that there is a price, and we'll go over more of that in Leviticus, which is coming up next. Continuing, nevertheless, the firstborn of man shall thou surely redeem, the firstling of unclean beasts shall thou redeem, and those that are to be redeemed from a month old shall thou redeem, according to thy estimation, for the money of 5 shekels after the shekel of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. 21.
6 days you shall labor, but on the 7th day you shall rest. Even in the seasons of plowing and harvesting, you must rest. And you are to celebrate the Feast of Weeks with the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times a year all your males are to appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel. For I will drive out the nations before you and enlarge your borders, and no one will covet your land when you go up 3 times a year to appear before the Lord your God.
I just want to stop there. We're going to get to verse 26, but let's remember this point that 3 times a year is making a point here. Remember the title of this is renews the covenant. So he's establishing the structure of the covenant with Moses again. And he says that 3 times a year your males are to come before the Most High in those 3 seasons of the feast. Verse 25.
Do not offer the blood of a sacrifice to me along with anything leavened, and do not let any of the sacrifice from the Passover feast remain until morning. Bring the best of the first fruits of your soil to the house of the Lord your God. You must not cook a young goat in its mother's milk.
Okay, yes, we're going to touch on that just one more time. I mean, just one more since we're passing by it. Targum's Jonathan and Targum's Onkelos. The best of the first fruits of the land ye shall bring to the sanctuary of the Adon your Elohim. You are not allowed to boil or eat the flesh mixed together, lest my displeasure be kindled against you, and the fruit of your trees with the grapes in their branches and their leaves be laid waste together. And 34:26 in Onkelos, the chief of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring to the sanctuary of the Adon. Thou shalt not eat flesh with milk. Way more straightforward, right? And so I wanted to elaborate on that perspective I was speaking of a few verses before. If you remember, this is a verse that we read about the meat and milk, or the goat in his mother's milk verse, is also in Exodus 23 and also Deuteronomy, I believe 16, 14:21. And just like in verse in Exodus 23, it starts off a few verses before it, 3 times in a year shall all males appear. Okay. And so the males that are appearing are those that have been separated from their mother's milk. I just want to say it that way. I don't know if I said it that way before, but we just read it right here, Exodus 23. And now in Exodus 34, why is the goat in his mother's milk keep being connected in the same like message as the timing of the festivals and the males being brought forth every year? We read about in the book of Jasher how when Isaac was weaned from breastfeeding, that he throws a feast. They all throw a feast when the male child is weaned. And I think all of this is connected. A male child is weaned. And if we keep going with the connections, when was Samuel, remember, the mother of Samuel made a covenant with the Most High and said, if you give me this child, I will give you him to be a worker of the tabernacle, a priest of the Most High. And Samuel was born in the moment he was weaned. He was given over. He was given over to Eli and the priest, and he was literally raised in the tabernacle. He was raised with the priests. So the 3 times a year, all of the males are males that are weaned, which is why he says, do not bring forth the best of the first fruits. And the first fruits is a symbol of us coming 3 times a year to bring forth fruit in due season. So the males, the leaders that are growing into males, growing into adults, and the adults and the leaders, all of together, they come forth to keep everything structured the way it is, which is the message: do not mix milk and meat, because all of this is a separation of it. It's order. Okay? And I'll leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say with it. So let's continue with verse 27.
The Lord also said to Moses, "Write down these words, for in accordance with these words I have made a covenant with you and with Israel." So Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, without eating bread or drinking water. He wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. And when Moses came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, he was unaware that his face had become radiant from speaking with the Lord. Aaron and all the Israelites looked at Moses, and behold, his face was radiant, and they were afraid to approach him.
All right. So we're about to tie that loose end up. I said that at the end of chapter 33 about Elijah. Elijah and Moses stories, 2 totally different times. Elijah was running from his life from Jezebel in that story, but still the same structure: fasting, location, and meeting the word of the Most High, right? So now Moses comes down from Sinai and his face is shining, radiant, to the point that they're afraid of him. That sounds like, when they come across an angelic spiritual being, right? A light shining forth, afraid. This brings up Matthew 17. After 6 days, Yasha takes Peter, James, John, his brother, and brings them up into a high mountain. Now, it doesn't say this is Mount Sinai. It doesn't say it, so I'm not going to say it's Mount Sinai, but it's still a high mountain. Let's remember that. A lot of symbolisms that's set up to structurize this vision we're getting to. It was transfigured before them. Transfigured. So he is not in a just fleshly state anymore. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah talking with him. I'm here to tell y'all, hold on, let me just explain this. This is what I believe is happening. Mashiach was transfigured in a spiritual form, which is why he shined like a light. Remember, spirit is light. And his raiment was white as light. He was transfigured into spirit, which transcends time. The time where Moses and Elijah was at Mount Sinai, speaking with the word of the Most High, was at this time, because a spirit doesn't function in our time. They are outside of it, which means they simply exist. They can exist throughout any timeline because well, like I said, we're talking about the word, not just any angel or spirit. But that's what it truly seems like what's going on here. His transfiguring put him in a position to be on that same mount with Moses and Elijah that were in a fasted state, in a spiritual form, as we see Moses coming down from the mount. Moses has got this light as the sun, as if he's got the spirit of the Most High upon him, because he does. Because he does. And all of us will have this same light that will exist outside of this time frame upon judgment. Matthew 13:40 through 43. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who has ears to hear? Let him hear. And I'll tell you, that's my best interpretation of it, is that's what's happening. I don't know if y'all have ever seen the movie. This is the movie what I feel like the movie was playing on. Oh my goodness. It's that astronaut movie with oh my goodness. Somebody's going to help me with this. That the so-called aliens were helping them outside of their time, outside of their reality. That's the best. Somebody's going to get me in the yeah, Interstellar. Yes. Interstellar. I feel like this is what Interstellar was playing on. Was this right here, that angelic beings, spirits, are not bound to our time. We're stuck in the computer. They're outside of the computer. It's different. All right. And let's finish chapter 34.
But Moses called out to them. So Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him, and Moses spoke to them. And after this, all the Israelites came near, and Moses commanded them to do everything that the Lord had told him on Mount Sinai. When Moses had finished speaking with them, he put a veil over his face. But whenever Moses went in before the Lord to speak with him, he would remove the veil until he came out. And when he came out, he would tell the Israelites what he had been commanded. And the Israelites would see that the face of Moses was radiant. So Moses would put the veil back over his face until he went in to speak with the Lord.
And we see that radiant face is symbol of the Spirit of the Most High upon Moshe at this time. All right, we're going to finish with the book of Jasher, chapter 82. We're going to read the remaining of chapter 82, verse 22 through 37, to close out this Torah portion 25. Verse 22, and Moses again went up to the Adon, and he remained with the Adon 40 days and 40 nights. And during the 40 days did Moses entreat the Adon in behalf of the children of Yasharallah. The Adon hearkened to the prayer of Moshe, and the Adon was entreated of him in the behalf of Yasharallah. Then spoke the Adon to Moses to hew 2 stones tablets, and to bring them up to the Adon, who would write upon them the 10 commandments. Now Moses did so, and he came down and hewed the two tablets and went up to Mount Sinai to the Adon, and the Adon wrote the 10 commandments upon the tablets. And Moses remained yet with the Adon 40 days and 40 nights. And the Adon instructed him in statutes and judgments to impart on to Yasharallah. And the Adon commanded him respecting the children of Yasharallah that they should make a sanctuary for the Adon, that his name might rest therein. And the Adon showed him the likeness of the sanctuary and the likeness of all its vessels. And at the end of 40 days, Moses came down from the mount, and the 2 tablets was in his hand. And Moses came to the children of Yasharallah and spoke to them all the words of the Adon, and he taught them the laws, statutes, and judgments, which the Adon had taught him. And Moses told the children of Yasharallah the word of the Adon, that a sanctuary should be made for him, to dwell amongst the children of Yasharallah. And the people rejoiced greatly at all the good which the Adon had spoken to them through Moses. And they said, we will do all that the Adon has spoken to thee. And the people rose up like one man, and they made generous offerings to the sanctuary of the Adon. And each man brought the offering of the Adon for the work of the sanctuary and for all its service. And all the children of Yasharallah brought each man of all that was found in his possession for the work of the sanctuary of the Adon, gold, silver, and brass, and everything that was serviceable for the sanctuary. And all the wise men who were practiced in work came and made the sanctuary of the Adon, according to all that the Adon had commanded. Every man in the work in which he had been practiced, and all the wise men in heart made the sanctuary and its furniture and all the vessels for the holy service of as the Adon had commanded Moses. And the work of the sanctuary of the tabernacles was completed at the end of 5 months. And the children of Yasharallah did all the Adon had commanded Moses. And they brought the sanctuary and all its furniture to Moses, like unto the representation which the Adon has shown to Moses. So did the children of Yasharallah. And Moses saw the work, and behold, they did it as the Adon had commanded. So Moses blessed them. And that is our conclusion for Exodus chapter 32 through 34, week 25 of our Torah portion series. We only have one more portion for the conclusion of our second book of Exodus. This has been fun. Let's continue this ride. Once again, Shabbat Shalom. And may Abba Barak y'all for seeking wisdom.